Welcome to Campfire Stories.
Welcome back to the fire, friends. Tonight's tale is about the richest man the Klondike ever made, a giant of a fellow from the coal country of Nova Scotia, so wealthy at his peak that the whole Yukon bowed to him and called him, without a trace of joke, the king of the Klondike. His name was Alexander McDonald, and everyone knew him as Big Alex. And his is a story, Carol, about the strangest thing a fortune can do to a certain kind of man.
The king of the Klondike, and a Nova Scotian, Marty, one of ours, more or less. What was he like, this Big Alex?
He was not what you would expect, Carol, and that is the first surprise. When you hear King of the Klondike, you picture a loud, flashy fellow like Swiftwater Bill in his silk hat. Big Alex was the opposite. He was enormous, slow, shy, and awkward, a shambling bear of a man with big, clumsy hands and a heavy tongue who could barely string a sentence together in company. He did not drink much. He did not gamble. He did not chase the dance hall girls. He was by every account a quiet, plodding, almost dull man. And he became quietly and plodding the richest man in the North.
Now that is interesting, Marty. Not the flashy one, the shy, quiet one. How does a slow, awkward man become the richest of them all?
By seeing one thing clearly that the excited men could not, Carol. While the stampeders were frantically digging in the frozen ground hoping to strike it rich, Big Alex realized that the surest way to get rich was not to dig for gold at all. It was to buy the ground the gold was in. He had a genius, a real quiet genius, for the value of a claim. He would trade a piece of one claim for a share of another, buy a half here, a layoff there, take fractions as payment, and slowly, patiently, like a man building a stone wall one rock at a time, he assembled a kingdom of the richest gold-bearing ground on Bonanza and Eldorado Creeks.
So while everyone else was gambling with a pick and a prayer, Big Alex was quietly buying up the whole table. Marty, that is smart. That is boring, and it is brilliant.
Boring and brilliant, Carol, is Big Alex to the life. At his height, he owned or controlled dozens of the best claims in the Klondike, and hundreds of men worked for him, and gold came up out of his ground by the ton. They said he was worth millions, an almost unimaginable fortune for the time, 20, some said $30 million. Pilgrims came to Dawson just to shake the hand of the king of the Klondike. A cardinal of the church came all the way from the outside, and Big Alex, a devout man, gave great sums to build churches and hospitals. He was generous and humble, and he sat atop the greatest pile of gold in the world, this shy Nova Scotia boy who could hardly look you in the eye.
Marty, this is lovely so far. The quiet, good giant who won by being patient and generous. But I know this fire, and I know your voice, and there is a turn coming, isn't there?
There is, Carol, and it is the whole point of the man. Because Big Alex had one flaw, and it was hidden inside his one great strength. He loved to buy claims. It was the only thing he was truly good at, and the only thing that gave him joy, and he could not stop. Even when he had more gold than he could ever spend, he kept buying more ground, endlessly reinvesting every dollar into more claims, more shares, more fractions of frozen dirt. He was not building a fortune to enjoy it. He was building it because building it was the only thing he knew how to do.
Oh, Marty. He did not know how to stop and just live. He just kept feeding the whole fortune back into more ground.
Every dollar, Carol. And here is the trap that closed on him. All those claims, all that ground was only worth something as long as the Klondike gold held out and the price and the promise stayed high. But gold rushes end. By the early years of the new century, the easy gold was gone. The stampeders had drifted away to the next strike in Alaska, and the value of all that Klondike ground began to fall and fall and fall. And Big Alex, who had every dollar he owned sunk into that ground and would not sell, watched his kingdom quietly turn back into what it had been before he ever touched it. Cold, worthless dirt.
He rode it all the way up and then all the way back down because he could not bring himself to cash out and walk away. Marty, the richest man in the world, and he lost it the same way he made it, one claim at a time.
One claim at a time, Carol, in reverse. The king of the Klondike slowly went broke. Not in a dramatic crash, not gambled away in a night like some, but drained away over years as the ground he loved to buy became ground nobody wanted. And the end of him, Carol, is one of the quietest and saddest in all these tales. In 1909, Big Alex McDonald, once worth more than kings, was living alone in a little cabin out on a worthless claim, still to the last, working the ground, still certain the gold would come back. And one winter day he went out to chop some firewood, and his great heart simply stopped, and he fell down in the snow, and he died there alone, an old poor man on a played-out claim, and it was some days before anyone found him.
Oh, Marty. Alone in the snow chopping wood on a claim worth nothing, the man who had owned half the Klondike. That is unbearably sad. Why does it move me so much more than Soapy Smith or Swiftwater Bill?
Because he was a good man, Carol, and because his ruin came not from vice but from virtue carried too far. The very patience and love of the ground that made him great was the thing that would not let him let go, and it took him down. He teaches us the hardest lesson of all the Klondike men. It is not enough to know how to get the treasure. You have to know when to stop and how to live and when to put down the pick and simply be a man among people who love you. Big Alex never learned that, and all his gold could not buy it for him. I'm Marty Shepherd.
And I'm Carol, and tonight I am grieving the gentle giant who forgot to stop. Whatever you're chasing, friends, know when you have enough and go home to your people while there is time. Hold them close and come back to the fire.